somewhere in Dreamland.
It looked like the complexion of a dead person in a casket.
Random memories of waking up in the night, knowing I'm not alone in the room.
We have 3 cities that all claim to be the UFO capital of the entire world.
So when she turned on the kitchen light, it stopped walking.
My parents told me these things didn't exist.
They're a little more ominous, creepy, scary, and the question is there, what is this thing?
Hovering just inches from the window was literally is what you'd imagine a grave to be.
Never seen anything like this in my life.
I'm still left with more questions than answers.
Welcome back, dreamers. If you've had an encounter, please contact me at somedreamland@gmail.com or find me on Facebook at Somewhere in Dreamland Podcast. If you're enjoying the show, please help it grow by subscribing, rating, reviewing, and sharing this episode with friends, family, and social media. Tonight, my guest is Kenney W. Irish, aka the Cryptopunkologist. Kenny is an author, sales and marketing professional, and a hardcore punk musician. For Kenny, his fascination with folklore, legends, monsters, and UFO stories started at an early age and came full circle in March of 2021 when he released the Amazon #1 best-selling book, American Cryptids, In Pursuit of the Elusive Creatures. Along with all of this, Kenny has appeared on numerous radio programs and television shows, and is an explorer with the New York Bigfoot Society. So without further ado, grab your blankets, turn down the lights, get comfy, and let's fade away into
Dreamland.
Actually, I'm really enjoying looking for the up-and-coming people in this field, and I know you've been in it for a while, but it seems like your name is really getting put out there right now. So,
Yeah, it's just for a long time, I just kind of hid in the shadows, and but in the last, I'd say, I don't know, maybe a year and a half was when I kind of came out, because I played in bands for years, and it just, we put albums out, we did a bunch of different stuff. We're in some newspapers, magazines, on the radio, and I just this was another passion of mine, cryptids, and I knew there's controversy in this subject, like there is in every subject. So for the longest time, I just kind of stayed in the shadows, and but it got to a point where I've got obligations to different publishers and different things like that. So I had to make my presence a little bit more known. So
yeah, sure. So let's talk about the music thing for a minute there, because I love music. So what kind of I'm assuming it's punk, since you're the Cryptopunkologist.
yeah, that kind of set me on a path and kind of direction to the music that I because I'm a big fan of hardcore, and everybody knows hardcore crossed over from punk into hardcore, so hardcore was born. But yeah, I mean, even from a young age, I mean, I always enjoyed not just listening to music, but always kind of like imagined myself playing drums or something like that as a young kid, and just really just enjoyed it. I remember for the longest time, it's funny because when folks will ask me nowadays, hey, what's your favorite band? I'll tell them it's Tommy James and the Shondells. It's actually a band from like the late 60s to early 70s, but I used to listen to them a lot when I was younger, and then ended up having one of my friends ended up giving me a cassette tape in school, and he's like, hey, check this out. And I'm, where'd you get this? He goes, I took it out of my brother's room, and it was just like a mixtape, like there was no label on it or anything, and I popped it in, and I was just like, I was blown away. I didn't know music like that existed. I mean, it had the Misfits on it. It had it was just full of bands that just blew my mind. Again, I didn't know music like that existed, and just kind of, you know, had the Dead Kennedys on it. I mean, it was just phenomenal. It just blew my mind, and that's kind of the path I went on, and started following that. And then again, found the crossover hardcore bands like Agnostic Front and different bands like the Circle Jerks. They're still considered like a punk band, but they definitely kind of had like that crossover hardcore sound as well. And that kind of set me on the path. And I always wanted to be a drummer, but the first instrument I got was a guitar. I got it for Christmas, and then so I kind of learned how to play the guitar a little bit, and then started playing with some friends, and so for years and years I played bass and guitar. I never picked up the drums, just because every time somebody needed a musician, it was a guitar player. So I actually took the lunge back in March and actually bought a drum set, and been learning to play the drums. So it's been a good ride. It's been a lot of fun. But here we are now.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I couldn't play a tune if I tried. I honestly couldn't, but I can make a guitar.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So I built them and sold them, and first one I ever made, I got the whole thing built. I got it. I had Gibson guts in it, and it was looking beautiful. And then I couldn't figure out how to string the damn thing up. So I had to call my buddy over, and he's like, "You mean you built this whole dang thing and you didn't even you can't figure out like the most important part, and that's how to string it up?" Yeah, man, that's me. All the complicated stuff.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, no, I've been playing guitar, definitely for many years, but I don't know, I was always excited about it. I enjoyed it, but I don't know, in the back of my mind, I was always like, I'm kind of missing something. I feel like I'm missing something here, and I don't know. Since I've gotten the drums, I don't know. It's just I kind of have like that real kind of excitement, not just because I think some of it was just kind of fabricated excitement, just because it's like, getting bigger amplifiers, getting more pedals and different things like that. But I don't know. There was always something I felt like was missing when I was behind the guitar, and I don't know. I feel complete when I sit behind the drum set. So it only took me 30 some odd years, but I figured it out.
Well, at least it's figured out, right?
Agreed 100%.
Well, hey man, I'm gonna give you a little pre-warning here.
Okay.
We are in South Carolina, really close to Charleston, and we're about to get hit by that hurricane.
Okay. Yeah.
So we've got tornado warnings out, and it's not looking so good, and so if I lose you, that's the reason.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's a lot of fun, right? It's nice living here. It's beautiful weather. I mean, it's awesome because, I'm originally from up north. I'm originally from Ohio. And wintertime here is like 50, 60 degrees, and it's like,
yeah, man,
I could sit outside all year round and not worry about it. But then you have the downside of it, and that's this hurricane business, so.
Exactly. I mean, I've always lived in upstate East Coast, and right now I live in upstate New York. And back until 2014, I relocated out here into this area. I live probably right now about 20 minutes south of Saratoga Springs. But prior to 2014, July of 2014, I lived in northern Vermont, up in the Burlington, Vermont area. So yeah, no, I'll tell you, man, winters are harsh. Winters are definitely harsh, without a doubt. And I I mean, I'd like to go, and see, that's kind of like the toss up for me. It's like, I could go someplace warmer, but again, then you're dealing with, hurricanes, you're dealing with tornadoes, and, some things you can prepare for, but like you can prepare for a hurricane, I guess, you can prepare for a snowstorm, but man, tornado, I mean, that just kind of comes up and just kicks the crap out of you.
Yeah, true. So that explains a little something to me. Why you lived in Vermont, so it's probably where your fascination for Bigfoot comes. Is that correct?
Well, it kind of. Growing up, I was a big Godzilla fan, and I was right next to Lake Champlain, and which is known to have the infamous Champ, the Lake Champlain monster. So I think I was right around 4 years old or so, and again, loving monsters and Godzilla and King Kong, and somebody mentioned to me that there was a creature, serpentine monster living in the lake, which I related to Godzilla. So that kind of what really kind of got me into that was the thought of a real creature living that close to me, because I lived near Lake Champlain, so growing up, it was always like looking out there and just hoping I see one, hoping I see him. Never got to be lucky like most people that have actually had some type of sighting, but it's funny because in Vermont, like Bigfoot had been mentioned, but it was never, I don't know, it was like never like a topic really. It was more kind of like a joke. A lot of people would joke around saying that they were dressed up like Bigfoot and chasing people off their property, things like that, but it was never like an actual like topic, like Champ always was. And I'd say it was probably my senior year in high school. No, it was definitely my senior year in high school where I ended up, I took a class and we ended up talking about, different cryptids, and Sasquatch, Bigfoot was brought up, and, they played the Patterson Gimlin film, and I thought it was cool and everything. But that was when I first, kind of understood like the legend of Bigfoot and all the lore behind it, and really started kind of looking into that, because prior to then, I pretty much just knew it to be, a lot of folks would talk about it being like a there was one, like my understanding was there was one, and it was just seen like all over the country. And then when I took that class, that's when it was brought up and made to be more of an existence than just like folks talking about it. But you were still, that was back in 1993, so that was a while ago. But the more that I talked to people about it, the more people enjoyed the subject, but never I never really ever heard of too many like sightings in Vermont. They were very far and few. I heard more about the I believe it's Fairfield, Vermont. I've heard more about the Pigman, Fairfield, Vermont Pigman, than I'd heard of any type of Sasquatch in Vermont. And then again, with Champ, it was that was the main thing. We even had a minor league baseball team named the what were they called? Lake Champlain Monsters. It was after Champ. So the area that I grew up in, again, it was very like not many people talked about Bigfoot. So
I think that a lot of I think there's a lake monster in nearly every decent sized lake in the United States.
That there is. Absolutely.
We have one down here on Lake Moultrie, and I forget the name of it. I'm not so well versed in all the South Carolina stuff yet as I am with the Ohio stuff, and believe me, there's a ton of Ohio stuff.
Yeah.
But a couple of years ago, I was told that this thing, a couple of teens out on a boat spotted this thing, and it actually flipped their boat, and one of the teens had to be hospitalized. And it was in the paper. It was crazy. And then, we have just north of that, in Charlotte, we have Lake Norman, and they have a lake monster called Normie.
Norman, yeah.
And that's a man-made lake, which is really crazy to think about.
Exactly. It's funny because I actually, in my book that just released back in March, I actually talk about Norman. I guess a lot of people, locals, call him Normie, but it's crazy. And that was one of the things I pointed out in the book too, is that it's a man-made lake. So where in the world did this creature come from? So at the same time, I mean, I have to believe, that there's definitely misidentifications. There's definitely folks, that, maybe excitement gets the best of them. So I don't know. It's, it's really hard to understand how something like that could happen. Although, if it's a man-made lake and, sections of it, who knows, maybe some of the sections of it, slowly but surely kind of, caved down and caved in a little bit. It ended up connecting with some underwater ground, areas, because there's a lot of folks, that believe that, that there's underwater tunnels, that connect from different lakes and some even to the ocean. Like, for instance, Champlain used to actually be connected to the Atlantic Ocean. And then, over the centuries, the water receded, the glaciers came in, and then the lake turned into a freshwater lake. But you've got to believe that there's got to be still some type of connection there. There's got to be some type of waterways, that are underneath the earth, and that could be potentially where some of these animals actually, exist, that show their head from time to time. My understanding, Loch Ness, like at one point in time, that was connected to the ocean as well. So again, I mean, I always say it like this, that when you're looking at the earth, we always talk about the majority of the earth being covered with water. I say the earth is 100% covered with water, but what we call countries are really just kind of islands floating on the top. So there's got to be some type of connection somewhere, because I mean, how far down do people go down into the oceans and drill? I mean, there's some places where they go way down, but I mean, how many drills, how many miles down can you go and actually say that you've explored, the core of the earth? And, with folks saying, that we haven't even, I mean, we've only explored 5% of the ocean floor or the oceans. It just leaves room for a lot of opportunity for something to exist that we haven't necessarily been able to figure out or 100% be able to see, consistently enough to understand.
Right. I can see the whole tunnel thing, and I actually believe that. And I think that Lake Norman now is actually connected through smaller waterways, because I know my brother-in-law lives in Charlotte, and he was talking, he's a super explorer. He's hiked the Appalachian Trail and the Sierra Nevadas, and
nice.
Yeah, I call him Dora the Explorer.
Yeah. Awesome.
He's a big burly guy, so I like to poke at him with the Dora thing. But so he was talking about actually getting on his kayak and loading it up and coming this way from Charlotte, taking 2 days and coming this way. And I'm like, man, you're a crazy man. But I guess it's all connected. He can make it here from there. So.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and these lakes here do connect to the ocean for sure.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. And like the Finger Lakes too, or not the Finger Lakes. What are they called? Out in Wisconsin, Minnesota. I'm drawing a blank. My understanding from the research I've done and studied that even though they're all separate lakes, they're actually all connected underground, which is very, very cool, because if you're just looking at it on a map or like Google Maps or something like that, it's really cool seeing the lakes. But then again, to think like they all connect. And there's so many different people that say that there's different creatures living in each one of the lakes as well. So again, we've got to logically know that some are definitely obviously a misidentification. We also have to logically say, okay, there's people that might say something to get attention, but at the same time, there's people that really see different creatures and things that they cannot explain, and it just, I don't know, I guess that's kind of one of the things that really keeps me going in this subject, because I just love the lore and I love the mystery of monsters and cryptids, where a lot of people are very like, I'm not a hardcore guy who draws a line in the sand and says, this is the side that I'm on. If you're not on my side, stay over there. I'm one of those guys where I walk on the line, so I can have conversations with everybody on both sides, because you've got, like, when it comes to Sasquatch, I mean, you've got the group that believes that it's all paranormal, and for good reason. They've seen certain things that they can't understand and can't explain, such as there's one gentleman that said that he saw a Sasquatch and he was blown away, and then so right before his eyes he saw it just kind of like disintegrate in front of him, not like disappear, it just kind of disintegrated. There's other folks, that have been credible people that have been like, hey, I saw what I believe to be, some type of extraterrestrial craft, and off to the side I saw what appeared to be a Bigfoot. And again, there's some people that you don't know, and then there's other people that you talk to that are credible people, and then there's others that just saw they saw it running through the woods, and the flesh and blood side. I mean, I'd say that I definitely stand more on the flesh and blood side over paranormal, but if I had to pick between paranormal and extraterrestrial, I might probably go towards the extraterrestrial, because I mean, why not? Yeah. A lot of the time, we think of the Greys, we think of extraterrestrial beings as, we think of ET, or we think of like tall, skinny bodies with big heads. But if there's life on other planets, why would they all look exactly alike? Because obviously, we don't look anything like what most people see and claim an extraterrestrial to look like, and we're on our own planet. So why couldn't there be some type of Sasquatch looking creature that is extraterrestrial from another planet? Folks will even bring up the whole fact of Star Wars, all the different creatures that were everywhere, and what was one of the main characters was Chewbacca. Yeah. And what does Chewbacca resemble? He resembles Sasquatch. He's this tall, 7 foot tall, big hairy creature. So
there are lots of theories out there, man. I mean, lots of them. And my problem with most people in this field is the professionals, the guys that say they're professionals. That's one of my biggest pet peeves, man. As soon as somebody says that to me, I roll my eyes. I'm like, really? How are you a professional in a field that has no real answers? Like, right.
And I kind of say the same thing. I actually say professionals because a lot of people come to me and say experts. And so I always kind of say it like this, like, I don't believe that there's any experts in a subject that has no accountability and you can make it up as you go. I personally, I believe that there are professionals, and what I mean by that is somebody maybe that has been studying it for a long time, that goes about it in a professional manner, kind of does their thing, brings forth, information and stuff that they found. But, that might be kind of the same thing you're saying. Maybe, I just say it as in like, I don't believe that there's experts. I believe that there's people that, can come across in a professional manner and doing, things for a long time.
Yeah, I like your explanation better. That's what I was going for, but
I figured that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is because, again, I mean, how do you consider yourself an expert in something? I mean, I've had so many people come, after me and be like, you don't know what you're talking about. I've been doing this for 30 some odd years. I'm an expert. And it's well, you're an expert at not bringing forth any information that's relevant, apparently. But somebody who's been doing it for 30 years. I know so many people that have been doing it for a long time. And they have conversations with you about the subject. They listen to you as well as they talk with you. And to me, it's like, that's important. And that's where it's at. And, there's just so many people that, again, they kind of have that, I've been doing it for so long. How dare you say something? How dare you say what I think is a theory and not fact?
Right.
And it's like this is all theory right now. We haven't proven anything. There's enough evidence to suggest that there's many things out in this world that we can't explain, and we're out looking for them. But again, I mean, somebody having an experience and seeing something, that is fact. Okay, absolutely, 100%. But what did you see? Will it resemble this? Okay, I understand that, but what did you see? Well, this is what I believe it is. Okay, well, this is what you believe it is, but you can't 100% say this is what it was. And that's not knocking somebody's experience either. It's just saying, again, we don't have 100% proof. The subject, in my opinion, I believe is getting very, very reckless now. Meaning, it's turned into kind of a free-for-all where you can say anything now, and people kind of believe it should be accepted. I believe that we should have conversations about every theory, but at the same time, it's a theory and it shouldn't be accepted as any type of fact right now, because let's say you got two very, very credible people. I mean, I know two people that are just phenomenal people. They wouldn't lie to you about anything. And they have two different theories of what Sasquatch is. Two different theories from what they saw and what they experienced. So their experience was fact for them. The fact are they experienced something, they saw something. But one believes, okay, it's paranormal, interdimensional, and the other believes it's extraterrestrial. Two very credible people. These are two people that I would take a punch for. But yet they've got two differing opinions on exactly what it is. So who's right?
Yeah, I mean, neither of them, or neither of them are wrong either.
Exactly. And and the thing is again, it's I think with a lot of like the TV shows, which I love the TV shows. I know a lot of folks, will talk bad about them. And are they edited by, editors and different producers? Absolutely. We know that. But, because there's been, I think, so many of them that the subject has kind of become, instead of, kind of cliche and goofy, it's become cool now. So, a lot of people are starting to kind of get into it. Cause I mean, I remember, 20 years ago, just like somebody bringing up like ghost hunting. I mean, for the most part, you would think of it like the movie Ghostbusters. Now everybody I come across is a paranormal investigator.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's just like, TV has brought a lot of these different subjects into mainstream, which I think that's kind of where the recklessness kind of comes now, and not because the shows did anything wrong, but now everybody kind of sees a lot of this stuff is cool and not goofy, so everybody's kind of getting into it. And I think that's part of where, the train kind of goes off the rails a little bit, because you've got Facebook with all these Facebook groups, and somebody that's new getting into the subject joins one of the groups, and they're really, what they're fed at that point in time will really kind of at first kind of set them on the path of where they're going to be in the next 6 months, on their thinking. So I think the groups are great, but I just like I said, I think it's kind of reckless in a sense, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, it does. And for the most part, a lot of those TV programs are pretty good, pretty well done. Some of them are pretty scripted, and you can tell. But there are a few of them that I just can't get down with, I just can't stand. And one day, I'm telling you what, I just told another paranormal investigator today that I was talking to that I've called them out so many times. One day this guy's going to find me and beat me up. I know he is.
Yeah.
But I can't help it, man. When I call it when I see it,
Yeah.
But let's talk about some of your books, man. Like, how many books have you got down now?
Right now I've got 3. I've got one that's out of print that actually is going to be back in print and rebranded in the next, I'm thinking, couple of months. But as of right now, the ones that are available would be Stanley Riker and the Bigfoot Runaround. And that is a book, it's a young reader's chapter book for ages like 6 to 10. And it's about 3 third graders that go to their favorite camp for the weekend, and the counselor was talking about how the camp could be potentially shut down because of multiple Bigfoot sightings in the area. So the 3 get together to come up with a plan to capture the Bigfoot and save their camp. So I might be a grown adult, but I'm really a 3rd grade mindset individual. So I love writing young readers chapter books.
I think that's important too, because you get young people interested in this stuff. That's what got me interested in this field was a book. So I think it's very important, and I think that you're doing good work with that, man.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm working on one with extraterrestrials. Again, I just, and that's the beauty of young readers chapter books is, it's fiction. It's not nonfiction, so you can, just use your imagination. You can have fun with it and just kind of roll with it. But recently, back in March of this year, it was right around, I'd say December or January, I signed with another publisher called Beyond the Fray Publishing, and I released a rebranded book, and it's called American Cryptids in Pursuit of the Elusive Creatures, and it's just done phenomenal. It's a book that I've been wanting to write for years, but I also wanted it to not be just like every other book that has been written by folks that study the subject. So I really brainstormed for a long time to kind of come up with an outline and a direction that is different and not exactly the same. Because again, I didn't want to just write a book and it be, okay, chapter 1, the Wendigo, chapter 2, Chupacabra, It's like everybody already knows, what am I going to just kind of tell the same stories? And again, all the greats, all the Ken Gerhards, Lyle Blackburns, Lauren Coleman's, they've all gone through and they've all written these books, and due to them, that's why a lot of us kind of know what we know because we've read their books. So I kind of came up with a different type of outline where I just didn't want to write a book and talk about them. I wanted to actually be part of the book and feel like I was taking people on an actual journey across the country, like I was the travel guide, and I was taking a bunch of tourists around, if you will. So I actually covered all 50 states in the book, and each chapter opens up with the actual state, talking about when it achieved its statehood, different historical facts regarding the state, if any type of any type of for instance with Vermont, Green Mountain Coffee and Ben and Jerry's came out of Vermont, so obviously I mentioned them in the Vermont section about the history of the state, and then the next section, because the research that I do, a lot of people start with the Patterson Gimlin footage and then work themselves forward, doing research. I started there, but I went backwards. So I actually studied the Native American lore, what they believed, what they saw, what they believed, Sasquatch and different cryptids and serpentine creatures were. And that's where I do all my research. So I give a lot of credit to the Native Americans, because in my opinion, if it wasn't for them, we would have no clue about the majority of these creatures that we now kind of take ownership of and write about and talk about all the time. So the next section is I picked a Native American tribe from that state and just did some historical facts on them, how they lived, what they hunted, what they lived in, and talked about some lore that particular tribe spoke about. For instance, let me see, the Apache, one of the creatures that they feared was what they called the Lelusha. It was a big owl, and they called it the boogeyman. And they would blame this being for unusual events that would happen, or disappearances of people. So it was just kind of cool just to kind of go in that area, in that direction, and it not just be all like Mothman and Bigfoot. And then the next section, that's when I would actually talk about the popular cryptid from that state. Again, West Virginia, obviously, would be the Mothman. I gave Champ to Vermont because I grew up in New York, I grew up in Vermont, where a lot of people would give Champ to New York, but I gave him to Vermont. So, just go down and talk about, some sightings and, where, some of the history on that actual cryptid. And then from there, I go into a recorded Bigfoot sighting from that state, and then I close that chapter out and I go to the next one. So that was kind of my outline that I put together, and kind of downloaded all the information I've had stuck in my head for the longest time, and here we now have American Cryptids.
Yeah, and it's a good book. I'm about 3/4 of the way through it, and I'm enjoying it a lot.
Awesome.
Yeah,
awesome.
Very well written. I like it a lot. So
excellent. And one of the things with it too was, I kind of wanted to make it, personal too. So, for instance, if somebody's, picking up a book, there's 3 of them there that they could choose from. Obviously you want them to purchase your book. One of the reasons I wrote it the way that I did too is I wanted to make it somewhat personal, because if you're going to pick up a book, and it's got all the states, what's one of the first things you're going to do? You're going to pick it up, you're going to go to your state and see what's written about your state. Yep. So, that was the other thing too, is again, I wanted to take people kind of, be like a tour guide, like a travel log, but at the same time, I also wanted to kind of make it personal for people too. So they kind of, feel like they're part of the book as well. And it's not just a book, written about cryptids. It's about their state. It's about the history of their state, the Native American lore of their state, and the monsters of their state. So it really covered a lot of different things. And so I was really pleased with it when it was finally, completely, written and done, because I felt like I kind of achieved the goal that I set out of, again, just not writing what everybody else has done.
Yeah, I think you nailed it with that one, man.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what all cryptids have you researched yourself personally, other than the ones in your book? I mean,
you mean like out in like the field?
yeah, boots on the ground.
I would definitely say they're definitely Champ and Sasquatch.
All right.
I haven't really done a whole lot of boots on the ground chasing it, other cryptids. I mean, I've had opportunities that last minute fell through for whatever reason. But the research area that we've got a couple research areas just outside of Whitehall, New York, which is known, for, as the epicenter for Bigfoot sightings on the East Coast.
Yes, sir.
So, that's our main area. That's our main stomping ground. I would definitely, I would love to, go out and definitely, the Dover Demon and, different cryptids like that. But it's a matter of time. I'll be able to, again, things won't fall through last minute, so for the most part, it's been Champ, but definitely most recently and more focused would definitely be Sasquatch.
All right. And what kind of evidence have you gotten so far on Sasquatch?
Me personally, I mean, I've had experiences, and I've had, we've come across footprints that we couldn't say it wasn't, and we couldn't explain it of why it would be there, where it was. We've had some, situations and experiences, with some of the Hollywood techniques of wood, tree knocking. We had one where we did a tree knock, and 45 seconds later there was a returned one. This is 2:00 in the morning. We had digital recorders all through the woods, so we actually got it on recording. We're not saying it's a Sasquatch, related, but it falls in line with what folks say. Definitely we've had experiences where we've had weird stuff happening out in the woods, where all of a sudden all our electronics just battery drain all at the same time. We've had situations where we've had different weird lights that were showed up in the woods, and they're in the area that we research, so we know it's not like swamp gases or anything crazy, but stuff that we can't necessarily explain. So again,
those damn swamp gases get you all the time. Swamp gases and weather balloons, man.
Yep. Yep. This actually, the last one that I saw, it was last year, and it was in the same exact area where we had just come from, where we had been for a couple of hours. So we knew that there wasn't anything there, and it was it was off trails. So it's not like it was another, hiker or something. Plus, if it was a hiker with a flashlight, you would have seen it moving. But this was just sitting there, just lit up, just sitting there, and we definitely couldn't describe it. So again, just weird, more weird than anything type of evidence of something going on in the woods. And Gary, the founder of the group, he's very, very logical, and he claims to have actually seen an actual Bigfoot back in January of this year, which was very surprising for me to actually hear him say that, because his education is in animal behavior. And so he just smart guy. I mean, he can tell you exactly what's what all the time, what animal's doing this, what this print is. He's a survivalist. He goes, he for no reason, he'll, hike 5 miles out in the middle of the woods, just turn around and walk back. That's just his thing. And, so, he got a picture, but of course it was at a distance, and it's just kind of like like a dark blob, but he did the right thing and immediately after took another picture of the same area with it not there.
Nice.
So we've got that. But again, it's hard because, looking at it, he's like, I took a picture of it. He goes, as it was leaving, he goes, it wasn't a bear, it wasn't this, it wasn't that. I know what this is. I know what that is. I don't know what that is. He goes, but it resembles what would be a Sasquatch. And again, did the right thing, took a picture right after. And, so we've got that evidence. There's, I believe he does have like a vocalization, recorded from prior to when I was in the group. It's funny too, because, a lot of folks, expect when you go out that you come back with stuff, and 9 times out of 10, we come back with nothing.
Yeah.
That's just,
yeah, it's part of the game, right? You got to stay on that stuff.
Exactly. There's a lot of researchers I know that they always say that, it's like they always come back with something. And it's like, they feel like they got to find something, because if not, it ruins their credibility. And me personally, if somebody, I'd rather come back and say, yeah, we had a couple weird things happen, but we were able to debunk it. Logically, this is what this was, that was. We'd rather come back and say, we found nothing. We got nothing, than come back and feel like we have to say that we found something. Because, as far as I'm concerned, if you can say that you went out and nothing happened, you found nothing, you came back with nothing, to me, that's a lot more credible than somebody that constantly goes out and comes back and says, oh, I saw this, I saw this, I saw this, I saw this. It's like, I don't know that it happens like that. I mean, I could be completely wrong, but I just don't. How do you go out and just every time you go out you see a Bigfoot?
Yeah.
I just don't, and it just, to me, and again, logically thinking, it doesn't make sense. And I'm not calling anybody out that says that they do. That's between them and their experience. But to me, it's just like, we go out all the time, and we're in like the hotbed, and again, like I said earlier, the epicenter of Sasquatch sightings on the East Coast, Whitehall, New York. We come back with nothing.
Yeah.
99.9% of the time. It's because, you know what? It is what it is.
There are those people that claim to have that they have a psychic link with Bigfoot or something like that. Like they can like psychically speak to them or sense when they're around. And I don't know if there's anything to that or not, but I know I've talked to a researcher that claims to have seen these things over 100 times, and they're very friendly with him. But if anybody else comes around, they get a little weird for him,
Yeah. I've heard it described as like mind speak, and I don't have a lot to. It's nothing I've ever experienced. It's nothing I've ever, personally come across. So I can't really speak to it. I know that there are people that, are more sensitive than others and maybe can pick up on something. I don't know. I've also heard that, that it's due to infrasound, and sometimes people will have weird reactions to infrasound. So I don't know. It's hard. Like I said, I can speak to kind of like the theories on it, but not really to actually ever experiencing anything like that. But I do know of folks that say that they again that they mind speak, and they can it's like they see this creature and they believe it's actually talking to them, and that they can hear it in their heads. So
I believe there's a whole book written on that. Guy wrote a whole book on that, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I am with it. Like when I was talking with Lyle Blackburn, I said, we're never gonna know until we got it right in front of us, man. That's the only way we're really gonna know.
Yeah. Yes.
Why do you think these things are so elusive? How do you think they are so elusive, in your opinion?
Well, I think it's, again, I kind of lay on the flesh and blood side. So, I kind of see them as, a species, an animal that, doesn't want to be bothered. And, like anything else, wants to disappear, wants to remain hidden, and if I go back and I look at, again, what the Native Americans, claimed, a lot of them said that they lived in harmony together. And nowadays, I think it's very different where, a lot of people are going out to try to find them to kind of have like the next best evidence to prove it, where, so I don't know. I when folks say that they believe that they will avoid people with bad intentions, that they can pick up on that as an animal that can pick up on different feelings and stuff, I kind of lean towards that. And that might be part of it. They might actually be able to pick up on, somebody's, emotions or energy that they're putting off. So they're able to, keep a distance and stay away. But I mean, it's especially if it's an animal and considered a wild animal. I mean, most wild animals try to run and stay away anyways, try to hide, try to camouflage. But I mean, it's really, really, I don't know. There's really no right answer other than, again, when I say that they're like an animal and they're just trying to hide and survive.
Well, it makes sense to me that if these things are flesh and blood instead of something supernatural or even alien, that they've probably become very good at hiding, and they've probably had a lot of time to study us as well when they're out there. And it makes sense to me that they're obviously not stupid creatures if we haven't found one yet. And I try to tell a lot of people that I have people that tell me, oh, Bigfoot, if Bigfoot is real, then how come we haven't got one yet? And I always respond with, well, what was it, 1920 something that Goodall found the great ape? It didn't exist before that. So and it's funny too, because I've been in the woods before, and I've seen a deer and I've seen it turn and run, and even though it's still there, you can't see it anymore. It literally will disappear in front of you. It's like it's the master of its domain, if you will, and it disappears and it's gone. Even though it's still there, you just saw it. It's probably maybe 50 yards away from you now. Sometimes you can't even hear it anymore, and you can't see it. It's gone. And so, if a deer can do that, why couldn't something that's bipedal and almost as intelligent as us, according to the Native Americans, why can't it avoid us? Why couldn't it? Yeah,
and again, sense. The Native Americans, that's, I always say it like this: if you want to get the best information, go as far back as you possibly can to where it's the rawest. And there's no Hollywood behind it. There's no agenda behind it, because Native Americans had nothing to gain. I mean, they weren't selling books, they weren't doing this, they weren't doing that. So, the further back you go, you'll find like the rawest information. And, to me, it kind of helps me maybe understand a little bit more when I try to look at it through the eyes of 2021. It doesn't make any sense at all. It's just nothing lines up. It just doesn't make any sense. It's just beyond crazy. It's just like a cool subject. But if you go back, again, you go way, way back in history, I mean, there were very important people in history that had claimed, to seeing a creature. And again, you go further back, you're going to find a lot of the best information that you can go on in order to go out and do research out in the field. And if the Native Americans lived in harmony with Sasquatch, well, why aren't we out there doing what the Native Americans did?
Yeah.
What are we doing? We're going out there, we're bringing all this Hollywood out there. We're banging on trees. We're yelling. We're doing this. We're doing that. You can't tell me that the Native Americans that loved, spirit and nature, that they were out there doing that. Maybe they were. I haven't come across it in any of my research. But they didn't have phones in their hand. They didn't have all this technology and equipment that they were setting up. They went out and they became one with nature and one with their surroundings. And I said this on a show that I was on at one time. We might be missing a lot because we're so distracted by what we're doing that we're not actually looking. We're too busy looking at the wrong things, which is our equipment, which is our phones, which is our thoughts of what we should be doing, instead of looking again. The people that told us and informed us of these creatures, what did they do? That's what we need to be looking at. What did they do?
That makes a
lot
lot
of
sense,
approaches?
man. Makes perfect sense. Yeah, I talked with a Native American a while back who says that he believes that they're using, well, we know they build structures and stuff like that, but he doesn't believe that they're building those structures to live in or to sleep in. They're building those structures to hide in, and they're actually living in the tunnel systems.
Sure. Yep, I've heard that.
Yeah,
I've heard something very, very similar.
That's a pretty good concept to me. I mean, like, why wouldn't they, right?
Yeah, I agree.
So what do you think about some of these national park people that go missing? Do you think that has anything to do with Sasquatch?
I really don't. I actually believe that it has to do with potentially, could it? Sure, absolutely. But again, coming from first and foremost, what we know in a logical point of view, a lot of these forests, a lot of these areas, there's a lot of drug traffickers. There's a lot of things that are going on in the woods, that, if somebody comes across and sees the wrong thing, they're going to disappear. Yeah. Somebody's going to make them disappear. I'm not going to say that that's for every single case, but I would have to say that, you've got the people who want to disappear and don't want to be seen again. And then you've got people that came across something that I believe that they probably shouldn't have seen and somehow were made to disappear. And then I think that there could be potentially something that has to do with some type of creature running around in the woods. I've had folks say to me that they believe some of the disappearances have to do with the fact that they saw what they believe to be a Sasquatch, and they actually went after it, and because it's interdimensional, they actually chased it right through a portal.
Huh. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's just, and the funny thing is like, folks will ask me, why do you think, people say that and come up with, like, because a lot of people call it woo, with paranormal and different things. And, sometimes I think, folks will come up with these different things or say interdimensional or paranormal to help make sense of something that they can't make sense of on their own. Because the second you say paranormal, you automatically start thinking dimensional, interdimensional. You start thinking ghosts. Well, that, even though it's really not a real answer, it kind of helps, because I think everybody believes in spirits, everybody believes in angels, everybody believes in ghosts, all to a degree. So I think saying stuff like that for some folks, it it helps them make sense of what they don't understand or what they can't make sense of. But I don't know, I've definitely heard some crazy stories of why people disappear. Some people say because they are, they're extraterrestrial and they've been abducted.
Yeah.
So there's so many different theories and stories, and I'll talk to somebody who seems like the total complete like nut job, and then I'll talk to somebody who's like the straightforward, educated, everything beyond belief, and they'll say something crazier than the person who I thought was crazy. And I don't think anybody's crazy. I'm just saying, like, and just to make a point, because I don't really want to, I don't want to judge anybody. That's not my thing. I always tell people that, I do my research and I stay in my own lane, and I try not to cross over into the other lane, and every once in a while it happens, but it's not on purpose.
Well, you have to have a healthy bit of that, I believe, especially when you're researching and investigating. So
yeah. I tell folks I'm a healthy skeptic, and I question everything. I even question my own thoughts. I question my own research. And if we aren't doing that, then we're not really researching. We're just coming up looking for answers that we want to find and then going with it. But I really think that we need to be questioning our own research, the things that we find ourselves. And if not, again, that's where that line kind of gets drawn in the sand, where you can't really say certain things because somebody's going to get upset. Like, for the longest time, it blew my mind. It doesn't bother me now, but it blew my mind. The word theory, some people, is like the F word. I mean, it's just like, because theory means, when you say theory, you mean what they're telling you is just a theory. So you're either saying they don't know what they're talking about, or it's not true.
Well, at this point, everything's kind of a theory. So,
exactly.
Unless personal encounter, I can see that wouldn't be considered a theory necessarily. But because they saw what they saw and it's their encounter.
Right.
But if it's somebody saying, well, I think that Sasquatch hide in mud holes, that's just as good a theory as any other theory at this point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, exactly. And, I think it's, like I've said, that it's important to have conversations with folks. But, we can't let the word theory be, because everything starts with a theory anyways. And so I think, we've got to be, approach it with a sense of, professionalism, and, again, by me using the word theory, I'm not saying what you experienced didn't happen. I'm saying that this is what you're theorizing that happened, because you can't necessarily explain it, but yet you're using certain things that you're aware of. Well, you've heard that this encounter happened with this person, this was similar, so that's why you're on that. So it's different for everybody. It really is.
Well, I'm gonna piss somebody off right now by saying that if you really look at it, 85% of science is just based on theory. They just theorize that the sun and the moon, do this and that. They just theorize how far the sun is from the earth. There's no way they really know that. They just guess. They theorize it. Well, it's an educated guess, but it's a theory.
Right, exactly, and that's it. And I've always said, everything that things that we know now to be facts started at one point as a theory. And with science, it's you come up with a theory and you try to prove that it's not correct. And that's the tough thing with science, is you try to prove that the theory is not correct. I've had a lot of folks that will say, hey, I came up with this, I came up with that. But the thing is like, they talk about, science again, you come up with a theory and you try to prove it wrong, which is correct, from my understanding. But the thing is like, okay, science, before they start marketing it to the general public, will come up with a conclusion where, folks that are using this scientific theory approach they're not doing anything. They're just saying, well, this is what this is, and then they're putting it out to the general public. It's like, okay, so if you're not really going to follow the pathway that science actually takes with the theory and prove it to be wrong, or right, then you're just kind of winging it. I don't know if that makes sense or if I just babbled.
No, it makes sense to me, for sure. So,
good.
How many investigations have you gone on in the Whitehall area, or where you guys have set up there?
On that area up there, geez, me personally, because again, it's always hit or miss with the team, from everybody's different schedules. I mean, I've probably been on maybe 7 or 8 of them, maybe.
All right. That sounds like a lot of fun, man.
It is. It definitely is, without a doubt. I mean, as a young age, I mean, think about that as a young kid, when it was nighttime, you wanted to run around in the woods at night, with flashlights. It was fun. It was exciting. It was cool. Now I'm an adult. Nobody can tell me I can't. So it really is. It's a lot of fun. Even if nothing happens, absolutely nothing happens. It's still cool to be out in the middle of nowhere, hearing weird noises here and there, sticks breaking, and you don't know what it is, and you're just running around with a flashlight. Obviously, we've got protocol, like we're not by ourselves. We have like another researcher with us, or another person from the team with us. When we're out there, we definitely don't go solo, in case something were to happen. But again, it's just, I don't know. I just remember as a young kid always loving it, and always being told that I can't, and had to come inside. Now nobody can stop me.
Are there still a lot of sightings up there from the locals?
There are. It's really depends on how much you kind of research in. Like the locals in the area, some will claim that they see them all the time. Well, the ones that are most credible are the ones that every few months there's a sighting.
Yeah, for sure. I noticed that down here during last year during the whole COVID thing,
mm-hmm.
we had a complete outbreak of Sasquatch sightings. Like during the first 3 months of that, huge uptick. I mean, people were seeing them all over the place, and I found that pretty interesting because other researchers have told me that they've seen less cases because people weren't able to get out, but a lot of the area that we're in down here is rural. Like a lot of these houses are just little houses out in the middle of a field or on a farm somewhere, and the cases just went through the roof.
Well, I've heard something similar to what you're saying, and the only thing that that I could think of, again, in its theory, is everything shut down, like the world shut down, and people still wanted to be outside or do something. So I saw kind of an influx of people actually being in the woods during COVID, even though a lot of them weren't supposed to be. But there's a lot more people in the woods because there was nothing else to do, and people were home going crazy. So I mean, if you think about it, I mean, let's just say, and it's just for simple numbers, on average in the woods in one area, you've got 50 people a week, that are in that general area. Double that. You're gonna have more traffic. You're gonna have more people trying to avoid each other, so they're gonna be spreading out a little bit further, maybe going into areas that aren't necessarily hiked in, and again, it's all just a theory of what it could be, but that's kind of the feedback that I was getting, is that there's actually more people that were going out in the woods, that were hiking on trails and doing different things that normally wouldn't, but they had nothing else to do. So I mean, logically it makes sense, but I can't prove it.
Out there hiking, still wearing their masks. I seen a guy come off a trail one time wearing a mask all by himself.
Yeah.
I was like, what are you doing, man? You're outside, there's nobody around you, and you're wearing a mask hiking. Like, come on, man. But that's the world we live in now, It
is. It definitely is.
So what's next for you, man, other than the book that you're getting reissued? What's going on next for you?
I'm still in the process of writing some other manuscripts. I'm working on the follow-up to American Cryptids. So that's in the works. I just, as a matter of fact, today actually signed with some individuals who are going to represent some books that I'm looking at right now, as far as the young readers chapter books. So they're going to be taking those on, as well as representing me, which is I'm pretty excited about. I haven't made like a full announcement yet on what it is and who it is, but I can definitely say this. One of the individuals is kind of like in the cryptid world, is kind of like a hero to me. They produced a TV show, a cryptid TV show that was like, just blew my mind. And it just, I don't know, I just loved the show. It was just phenomenal. It's not on anymore, but it was on for, I think, 5 seasons, 6 seasons maybe. So I'm pretty excited about that. So I'm going to be making more of an announcement down the road. But awesome. So that was just today that I signed on, and just different events that are coming up throughout the year, and I'm only doing I only had like 5 conferences and festivals booked this year. I just didn't know what was going to be happening with COVID, so I just kind of held back. And so I've got those like next month. I'm going to be in Port Henry, New York, at the Lake Champlain Monster Festival. So I'm really looking forward to that. It's going to be a lot of fun. And then in September, I'm going to be at the Sasquatch Festival in Whitehall, New York, speaking at that location, at that festival there. That's going to be a lot of fun, especially being in Whitehall. And then in October, I'm going to be in Fort Wayne, Indiana, at a DeadCon convention, which is that's going to be really cool, because there's going to be people from the cryptid world there, from the horror world, like Kane Hodder, who played Jason Voorhees in a few of the Friday the 13th movies. He's going to be there. Some people who played Leatherface in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre are going to be there. Some of the guys from the band Megadeth are going to be there. So it's going to be a lot of fun. The guys, Steve Tango and all them from Ghost Hunters, they're going to be there. And then in November, I'm going to be in Lexington, Kentucky at Crypticon. So that should be a lot of fun. All 4 members of the show Finding Bigfoot are going to be there. Cliff's going to be there. Renee's going to be there, which is cool. Bobo's going to be there. I've always wanted to meet him. I love that guy. He's going to be there. And then that's pretty much it for the rest of the year. I mean, I'm doing radio shows, each month all through the rest of the year, but I'm already booking into 2022. So it's just, that's kind of it. Books and conferences, and just meeting people and just having conversations, and just having fun, enjoying the subject.
Yes, sir. Sounds like a lot of fun. Sounds like a lot of work too.
Yeah, it is. And did I mention I also work 60, 70 hours a week? My day job. I run a location for an international company. So, I do, 60, 70 hours a week in there for, sales, marketing and budgeting and forecasting. And plus, I'm a husband, I'm a father. So there's a lot going on. But the thing is again, I mean, when it's your passion and you love it, you enjoy it, it's a good thing. And I love my day job too. I love the company I'm with, and I love what I do. So it's a lot of work all the way around.
Well, hey man, where can everybody find your books and find you on social media and all that good stuff?
Yeah, you can definitely, purchase my books through the publishers. You can go to Dark Moon Press, or you can go to Beyond the Freight Publishing. The easiest, obvious way to get it is you can go right to Amazon, and you can punch in Kenney W Irish or Kenny Irish, or the Cryptopunkologist, or the name of the title, and obviously in Amazon it's just going to pop right up. That's the quickest, easiest way. Folks can also reach out to me via my website, which is www.kwirish.com. And on my website, that's where I've got, all the events that I'm going to be at, and different things that are going on, different news. You can also hook up with me on Facebook. You can just search me again under Kenney W Irish, the Cryptopunkologist. I'm on Twitter under Kenny Irish Author. I'm on Instagram under Kenny Irish Author. So definitely, plenty of ways to reach out to me. If somebody wants a signed copy of the book, they can reach out to me directly through Messenger. I do have copies that I can sign and send out. I accept PayPal and checks, cash, whatever works for the individual. So again, those are all the ways that you can get contact with me. You can purchase my books, and hopefully if you see I'm going to be in an area that folks are from, they'll come over and say hi. And I love meeting new people and just hanging out and talking.
Awesome. Well, hey, yeah, you'll have to get back with me whenever you get that new book coming out, man. I'd like to talk with you again. Hopefully I'll pick it up and read it before we can talk.
Yeah, absolutely, without a doubt.
Well, hey man, I really appreciate you coming on the show and taking time out of your busy schedule to talk with me and to my audience, and I really appreciate it, man.
Thank you.
Well, that about does it for Dreamland tonight, dreamers. Thanks again for listening, and good night.